Go Ford for your next truck or SUV and find an easier way to buy with Woodhouse Ford today, and experience the convenience of buying with Woodhouse Ford. Save up to $13,000 off MSRP on a 2023 Ford F-150 XLT, plus 3.9% APR for 60 months with approved credit. $299 doc fee due at signing. Security deposit waived. Expires 1/02/2024.
My name is Terry Lynch. I'm with Oregon Ufology. I found myself searching for a passageway one day. And that passageway leads right across the complete section of the Cascades, which I'm sitting in front of at the moment. On top of the Lima Peak. I want to make sure that everybody sees the type of things that we find in the process of research for ufology. I have located a couple that's sitting here on the top of the Lima Peak. She's facing south. He's facing north.
The Middle, Cascadia Guides, a Let's production, in conjunction with Alien Strand Films.
This happened. I'm just skeptical about the abduction part of the story. To that extent, it wasn't like a visceral reality experience. It wasn't like a true memory. And that's what I had trouble with for years and years and years. Certainly, I shared the experience with the rest of the guys, and they might take that as remembering a real experience, but it's not. The encounter is real. I know that.
From ET Connections on YouTube and mountain-gate.com.
And you're listening to the Alien Strand Podcast with Donald Ledesma.
Catch us on YouTube and hit like and subscribe. We'll see you there.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. I just want to make sure that everybody's nicely and tuned in. So welcome to Alien Strand Podcast. You can catch us on Tumblr, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and alienstrand.com. Check us out there. You know, we have a lot of information there, you know, where you can go and we post a lot of stuff on Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube. A lot of stuff on Instagram. You know, even our Facebook page is always going all the time. So if you have a chance, go to our Facebook page. You know, hit a like there. If you go to our YouTube page, you know, hit a like and subscribe. You know, and we'll try to get some more information. We're going to do some live video podcasts here pretty soon. Hopefully by the new year. Okay, I got some really good guests coming on pretty soon. We're just lining everything up for them, and that way we can get them on the show. Now, if you want to be a guest on the show, you can call us at 361-245-8000. Again, that's 361-245-8000. If you want to be a guest on the show, you have a story, anything like that, just give us a call and we'll get you on the show. You know, of course, here we do everything of the unknown, you know, UFOs, aliens, UAPs, you know, Bigfoot, paranormal, interdimensional, everything that you think of the unknown, we talk about here on Alien Strand. You know, even historical stuff as far as like pyramids, you know, all the stuff that we have in the past. So, you know, we do all that here on Alien Strand because we're about information. And the information is what we want you guys to have, you know, so that way when you do get to talk to somebody about it or explain ufology, you know, to someone that's pretty much interested in it, you can give them, you know, a kind of, you know, how to do it or what's ufology about. And if you're brand new to ufology, well, welcome to ufology. You know, we are a big happy family here. We have a lot of good friends out here, especially with Alien Strand. You know, a lot of my friends out there. You know, Anibal, Jody, everybody with Extraterrestrial Strange Happenings group. You know, we have a lot of good folks out there that actually, you know, do a lot of these things as far as like the crafts in the sky. So, and bringing you that attention to what we need to see up in the sky, you know, and I have a really good friend of mine, and I've been following him for quite some time. His name is Terry Lynch. So he's got a page called Oregon Ufology and Research. So if you have a chance, go there and check this out. Check out his page. Okay, it's a brand new page that he just made. He's got several other ones, but this one's going to be the really important one for him, okay? This is where all his information is going to be. The only reason I'm telling you this is because we're going to be shooting a documentary with him, and it's going to be about him and his finds and everything that he does out there in Oregon as far as ufology. And this story is called The Middle, in which we are shooting it pretty soon, and we're going to release it in 2022. Okay, so we're getting all that together, and we're going to get this amazing story about Terry and his find and how everything coincides together with ufology and you know, just the geology, the terrain out there, you know, and it's going to be a really good story. Check out the YouTube commercials. We have some promos out for it. It's called The Middle, okay? And you have a chance, check them out on YouTube. Go to Ledge Productions on YouTube or Alien Strand there on YouTube. And you'll be able to check out the actual promo for it, okay? Small video promo, but that's pretty much what it's going to be close to being about. Okay, so go check those out there, or you can go there on Facebook and you'll see the promos on our Facebook pages, Alien Strand or Oregon Ufology and Research. Go check it out there. Now, if you guys have been following Alien Strand, and I hope you have, the last podcast that I had was number 70. It was called Conscious Contact with my friends Tyler and Chris, okay? These are the actual filmmakers of this documentary that they shot. And it's about, you know, consciousness and how people connect with these extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings, you know. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be in a physical realm sense, right? But they put the information out to you so that way you can pretty much see of what's going on in the consciousness part of it, right? So they're trying to open your mind a little bit on consciousness and contact, okay? So check that one out. It's called Conscious Contact, full disclosure, and it's all over, I believe, Tubi TV, anywhere you can download it. Check it out. Very good documentary. Good friends of mine, I saw it. I really loved it. You know, it's because it's different. You know, it's different. And that's the good thing that you like to see in documentaries, you know, something different. And they were able to deliver, you know, and, you know, I just loved that conversation we had. So check that out. It's number 70. If you have a chance, go back there. And if you have a chance before that, go to podcast number 69. It's called CE5 Contact, okay? Now, I have a list of how to make contact that I have, and I can email that to you or send it to you if you ask for it, if you're interested in knowing how to make contact using this CE5 method that they have now, okay? And I do have that, so if you can just go to alienstrand@gmail.com, send me a request for it, or if you have any UFO footage or if you want to be on the show or anything like that, you can actually contact me there as well. So alienstrand@gmail.com. Check us out there, and I'll be glad to look at your information or send you this information, okay? So you can check that out as well, you know, and that's a really, really good, interesting podcast because I get to explain on how you're able to make contact with these extraterrestrials as far as visuals as well, not just being in a different realm sense, right? So, and I really enjoyed doing that podcast. And everything kind of coincides together of what the story that I'm going to be doing today, okay? Because there's actual definitions of CE1 through CE5, right? Of it's actually called close encounters, right? So these are the encounters that people have on a daily basis, because as ufology researchers, we're watching these stories as they come out daily. Even the past stories is which the ones I love to give out, because these have a lot more merit on what they were talking about, right? As far as the documentation has been there, you know, nothing has been, you know, kind of, if nothing has changed as far as the story, you won't see it change that much, okay? So as far as the CE1, where this all came from researcher J. Allen Hynek, you know, and he did it in his book called The UFO Experience, okay, a scientific inquiry, right? So he wrote this book and kind of gave you the what these close encounters are as far as definitions, right? And because he wanted us to be able to define what we saw. And so he this is what he claims. He goes, sightings more than 500 feet from the witness are classified as daylight discs, nocturnal lights, or radar visual reports, okay? Sightings about 500 feet are subclassified in various types of close encounters. So Hynek actually claimed that the close encounter must occur within the 500 feet to greatly reduce or eliminate the possibility of misidentifying conventional aircraft or any other phenomena, right? So that makes sense, right? That he wanted to make sure that everything was close enough so you can identify and not misidentify of what it actually is, right? So, and that was a good way of putting it, right? And good way of doing these, making the scale. So his scale, Hynek's scale, was well known and being referenced back to the 1977 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? Which is named after the third level of the scale. Promotional posters for this film featured the 3-level scale. And Hynek himself makes a cameo appearance near the end of the film. Okay, and this is something that I didn't even know that he came out at the end of this film, which I loved as a kid. When I first saw it, it just blew me away. And even now, when I watch it again, they did it so well that, you know, Spielberg, my God, you know, he just does a great job on that. It's unbelievable how in 1977 they were able to pull this kind of film off to the realism of what it actually was, you know. So we wanted to make sure that Hynek wanted to make sure that we were able to identify these in these categories. So close encounters are the first kind. So this is the first one: visual sightings of an unidentified flying object seamlessly less than 150 meter or 500 feet or 150 meters away. So this shows the appreciable angular extension and considerable detail. In other words, it's close enough for you to see it. So we have close encounters of the second kind. A UFO in which physical effect is alleged. This can be interference with functioning of a vehicle, electronic devices, animals reacting, physiological effect, such as paralysis, heat, discomfort in the witness. Some physical traces like impressions in the ground or scorched, otherwise affected vegetation, or some kind of a chemical trace. So these are the things that we usually see when somebody has actually seen one of these UFOs on the ground, which is the close encounters of the second kind. Close encounters of the third kind. UFO encounters in which an animated entity is present. This includes humanoids, robots, and humans who seem to be occupants or pilots of the UFO. So the third kind is a lot of these stories that I always talk about that people actually get to experience. Of course, we have the visuals and everything like that, and even the second kind. But when it comes to the third kind, those are the ones that really, really interest me when they actually can see these pilots or occupants. And that's what makes these stories very, very interesting to me, and I'm sure to all of you. So, and then we have the close encounters of the fourth kind, right? So this is an event which is a human is abducted by a UFO or its occupants. So this type was not included in Hynek's original scale, okay? And they argued about this for the fourth kind. It should, because he said it should refer to cases when witnesses experience a transformation, a sense of reality, so as to include non-abduction cases where absurd, hallucinatory, and dreamlike events are associated with UFO encounters, right? And the film The Fourth Kind referenced this category. And then we have close encounters of the fifth kind. So the fifth kind is a UFO claiming direct communication between aliens and humans. In other words, not just you're standing in front of these extraterrestrials, but you're actually communicating in some way, shape, or form. And you know, that fifth kind, there's still a limit as far as what you can do if you are coherent when these things are happening to you. There's actually a law against that, or you're not supposed to approach these extraterrestrials. They made one in the 60s. Because of the biological, the pathogens of what these extraterrestrials might be carrying. I mean, we're dealing with that today in a sense, but we're not saying that came from extraterrestrials, but it's all that law is telling you that it does not want you to make contact or physical contact with any of these extraterrestrials because of biological pathogens, okay? So you don't know if they're carrying something that might be worse on you or humanity, okay? And that's just a precautionary thing that the government did as far as that, trying to keep everyone safe in a sense. Did they try to keep you away so that way you don't say anything about the extraterrestrials? You know, there's things that have happened, you know, in the 50s and 60s about that. And those things never change as far as that. They never change. Or they tried to shut people up when they see these things or because they knew something, right? So let's go ahead and take a real quick break before we get into our story.
Capture life's moments like never before with Rockbrook Camera, Nebraska and Western Iowa's premier camera store since 1975. Rockbrook Camera is not just about selling you a camera. It's about helping you become a real photographer, recording your life and sharing it with others. Today's cameras are faster, easier to use, capable of shooting stunning video, and with film photography making a comeback, there's never been a better time to dive into the world of photography. Rockbrook Camera goes as fast or as slow as you want to go. You can try before you buy with camera rentals, or give that older generation camera in the used department a whole new journey. Find Rockbrook Camera, 1 block south of 168th and West Center in Omaha, 70th and Pioneers in Lincoln, and at rockbrookcamera.com. That's rockbrookcamera.com. Discover or rediscover your love of photography today at Rockbrook Camera. Great photography begins here.
All aboard for your chance to win $1,000 every week until December 28th. That's right, $1,000 cash just in time for the holidays. To hop on board, just head to churchillmortgage.com and punch your ticket to the Churchill Express giveaway. Visit churchillmortgage.com for your chance to win big.
This is a paid advertisement. NMLS ID 1591. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing lender. 1749 Mallory Lane, Suite 100, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
All right. Welcome back. Glad you got to hear those messages from our sponsors. And as if I was talking about these close encounters of the, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth kind. So I was trying to get you guys to understand that these things are defined. So people can understand them, and if you didn't know what this is, now you do, okay? And I'm glad you were able to hear it on this show. And I bring this CE5 classifications of it because the story that I'm going to talk to you about, it happened in Brazil in 1956. So this is our podcast number 71. And this gentleman, they called him John, but his real name is Jairo de Freitas Guimarães. So that's his name. That's his given name. He's a married man, father of 4 children. And he studied in medicine at the College of Rio de Janeiro. He was a bacteriologist. And he also worked in the coffee trade. Also, he's a law graduate and a professor. So this person has a professional nature. All his life, or most of his life, he was in school. So this tells you his persona of what person we're talking about here. So the date of this incident happened on July 16th, 1956. And it happened in the city of San Sebastian on the north coast of Sao Paulo. The next day, because he was there because he had an important meeting with a client. But he went the day before to stay at a hotel. That evening, he had dinner, relaxed a little bit there in his room. Decided to go for a walk on the beach. It was a beautiful night. He said, I'm going to go take a walk and relax. So while he was walking, he decided to sit in the sand and just relax for a little bit. Watch the waves come through, the wind, giving himself a little bit of peace there. Then he says, suddenly he saw a flash of light on the water, followed by a jet of water. In other words, something was coming down from the sky, pushing water out of its way from this flash of light as he was sitting there on the beach. He says, I looked up and I saw a craft, a UFO, flying about 10 meters, which equals 32 feet. He said it was away from me, but it was coming towards him. 32 feet, that's pretty close. You really think about that. According to his description, he claims that the object looked like 2 rainbows connected together in a circular pattern. He says they were about 20 meters in diameter, which is equals to about 64 feet. He said it gave off an unpleasant smell, an odor, almost like sulfur. Suddenly, he says, two beings walked and jumped out of the craft and walked towards him. They stopped right in front of him. He stood up. By his impulse and his reaction, when he stood up, he asked if he could help them. Just like anybody, he just got up and said, "Can I help you with something?" Didn't think about it because it was just a fast impulse. He says, "I got no response from them. Just silence." He said, "They just stood there and stared at me." He said he asked questions in French, in English, and Italian, even in Spanish. But they were still silent. They just stood there. He says, "Suddenly I received a telepathic message to meet in the ship and go for a ride." He says, "I was hesitant at first, but within seconds, I decided to accept." Because he thought to himself, who in the world would not like to have this kind of opportunity? No, I would. So he says, he walked into the ship to a large room. He described the object like a cone in the center. And at the bottom of the chair was an unknown material, but it felt like leather, he says. He says he saw two devices with circles lit containing crosshatch lines. He said he sat in the chair and realized that there was a crew of 5 inside of there. He says 3 of them, they were same looking. They all look similar, 3 of the 5. He explains, they had long blonde hair, clear eyes. They had the look of serenity. He says they dressed in a green overall with bars on the neck and on the wrists. He says suddenly he felt the ship begin to take off. He said he heard a slight noise like someone falling into the water. So that spooked him for a second. He was concerned. He thought to ask if everything was okay. So he says, a telepathic message came back to him. It said, turning the ship forms a vacuum inside the central cylinder. So that's that noise that he was hearing. It was a vacuum from the inside of the ship. He says, in flight, he saw the sky full of stars and one color in violet. It says the ship stopped in midair, so I could see the sunrise as the clouds moved around them. He said at that point he knew that he was in a complete standstill in the middle of the sky because the clouds were just moving by them as he could see through that window. He says the ship took off with increased speed. and it shook a little. At that point, he got another telepathic message and told him, "We just left the atmosphere of the Earth." So at that point, he says, they decided to bring me back to the same spot that I was picked up. He looked at his watch to see how much time had passed. But his watch stopped exactly at 7:40 p.m. in the evening. So when he returned to the hotel, he looked at the clocks at the hotel, and they were also stopped at the same time. He stayed there at the hotel for a few more days, and he actually got another invitation for another ride a few days later. He says this time, but it was a crew of 3. And his flight was not as short. He said this flight was about a 40-minute flight, but it felt to him so this incident happened twice to him while he was there the whole time. When he returned home to his family, a few days later, he told his family about his encounter. Imagine the reactions that he was getting out of his family as he was explaining exactly what he saw and what he experienced. He said because he had told his family, of course, word got spread out, and later it was released to the press. After it got out on the press, people had actually saw this craft in the sky. So this craft had multiple sightings and witnesses, even from the military in Brazil as well. So the Brazilian military even had radar reports of this craft for those 2 days, because they investigated him after this story came out, because they were tying everything that happened to him to those radar visuals and the times and all the witnesses that saw these crafts in the sky. So later, João de Freitas Guimarães, he died in 1996 at the age of 87. And he left an amazing story of his flight and the craft, plus the extraterrestrials on board, telepathy, and the description of his encounters with these beings. Now, your next question is probably going to be just like mine was. These were human-like extraterrestrials, which we call Palladians or Nordics. There was no grays involved in these 2 abductions with him. He says these were human-like extraterrestrials, blonde hair, tall, thin, serenity-looking. And They did no tests on him. He was totally awake and coherent to the whole process as these things were unfolding in front of him, right? So they didn't even wipe his mind like you hear on a lot of these other abductions. They kept him totally coherent, even though they communicated with him telepathically, right? So you figured they would have that ability to do that to him. And they didn't. And that's what I've noticed on these stories with the Palladians or the Nordics, that they don't do this to people. They let you see them as who they are. And there's no need to hide behind it. Now, question: why did they stop there on the beach? Why did they land right there in front of him? And why did they approach him, right? So they had to have been watching him in the sky for them to do this. Now, if they can already communicate with him telepathically, I'm sure they already knew his intentions as far as when they picked him as to be a passenger on their craft. You have to think about these things. Now, would they have gotten somebody that's going to be aggressive? Probably not. Were they going to get somebody that was going to like go crazy or freak out or just lose their minds? What they were seeing? Probably not. So I believe that a lot of these folks that do get abducted by these Palladian-looking or Nordic-looking folks are actually handpicked because of who they are and what kind of people they are. And they're good people, right? This man was, very professional natured. He was professional in medicine. In law, he was actually teaching law. He was a professor teaching law. So why would he even make up a story like this? You think he would want to lose his professional criteria of what he has and what he does for a living? He was doing very well for himself as far as able to provide for his family. So why would he jeopardize that if he didn't see that? Why would he do that? So these are the stories that I like to put out because it doesn't make sense on if he was telling a lie, why would he jeopardize his whole career and put this story out there as it came out? He wouldn't, because it happened, right? So he was a truthful person trying to get this information out to you guys or to anybody that wanted to hear it. And I believe that's why they picked him, and that's why they chose him, because of his persona, who he was, what kind of person he was. Good person, right? Which I believe we should all be the same way. Be nice to one another. Help one another. You never know. Your day like Jow here might happen. They might pick you someday to go take a ride. To me, these almost sounds like the same beings of Billy Meyer. Billy Meyer from Switzerland, he had one arm. Very poor man. He was actually able to communicate with these Palladians, what he called Pelargens with a J. So these are the people that he was able to communicate with. Seth, that he dealt with for many years. He was able to fly in these crafts with them. They showed him a lot of things. If you've seen the images of his photos that he has out today, a brand new video just came out of his 35mm film. It's about 20 minutes long of these crafts floating above the sky. Now, the way you see these crafts movements, side to side, round and round, people think, oh, it's on a string. But what I saw was in a mid-circle spin around a tree, it stops and it goes a different direction in mid-circle. So when you're spinning something like that in a pendant, let's say you have a pendant in your hand and with a string, you're spinning, you try spinning it the other way or spin in a different direction. It's going to do some crazy stuff before it goes the direction you want it to. This didn't. So this is how I saw this film, as an actual original craft in the sky. And he does have that. And it's 20 minutes worth of flights. So if you have a chance, go to Facebook. Go check it out. I posted it up there like a week ago. We are now December 9th, 2021. Go check that out. Go back to the Facebook page. It's a YouTube video that I posted up of Billy Meyer and of all his of those 20 minutes of footage I had never seen before. So could have this story be the same extraterrestrials or people? Do these people connect to us as human beings from the past? And of who we are today? Who says that we're supposed to be 2,000 years old? Who says we're supposed to be 5,000 years old? Who says we're not 2 million years old? Or older? They're finding skulls, historical skulls, from human-like people that date way back, as far as you can think of, even before the floods. So maybe these folks, these people, these extraterrestrials had some kind of agenda with him just so he could see and tell his story. And I'm glad he was able to do that before he passed away at the age of 87. And these are the stories that I love to do here on Alien Strand, because they have a lot of merit and they have no reason to lie about what they experienced. And let me tell you, it's not going to get any better than this story. And I'm glad he was able to get it out. And, you know, he didn't have to tell his family or anybody. He probably thought, well, should I tell them or not? Are they going to think I'm crazy? This is 1956. What do you think? Everybody's going to think you're crazy in 1956. Now, because of all the footage that we have, and even the military has come out already saying that, yeah, there's UAPs up in the sky. We don't know what they are. So it's acceptable now. It wasn't back then. So it must have been a scary situation for him. You really, really think about it. For him to get the story out, and then once it got out of the news, he probably thought he was going to lose his livelihood, you know, of what kind of person he was. And I'm glad that didn't happen to him. I'm glad he was still able to provide for his family and be the person that he was. Well, that was a really good story. I'm glad you guys were able to listen to it here on Alien Strand Podcast. You can catch us on 23, 24, 25 platforms. iHeart, YouTube, Deezer, CastBox, YouTube, Google. We're all over the place. So if you just hit the search bar, whichever one you're using, look for Alien Strand Podcast. Share it with your friends. Give us a thumbs up. If you like this podcast, give us a thumbs up, whatever platform you're listening to, or follow us. And every time a new podcast comes out, you'll be able to get it first. We did have an app out there. It's still floating out there. And when a new podcast comes up, it'll give you a notification and you get to listen to it. Sometimes I get to do these live and get these stories out as well. And then you can chat with me as we're going. So today was not a live one, but, you know, we'll do it on the next one. And, you know, I really, really enjoyed today's podcast because, you know, I just thought this was a really important story. And I thought that it's a lot of information that you guys can put together yourselves, and the information is out there. So be sure that when you Google it or Bing it or whatever you're going to do with it, and to look for it, go to 4 or 5 different sources. Don't just pick one and believe that one, okay? So, because stories do change, people do write it in different ways. If you can find it in an earlier book, that'd be the best way to do it, because nothing has changed as far as somebody, changing the information as far as on there, okay? So I'm glad you guys are into ufology. I'm glad you guys are listening to Alien Strand podcast. Like I said, please share, go back to our other podcasts, hit us up on Tumblr, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and alienstrand.com. If you want to, call us at 361-245-8000. You want to be a guest on the show? Be glad to get you on. And I do have some guests coming up here soon. I got one guy from the UK and somebody here from the States. So we're going to have some nice conversations with them coming soon. And then, like I said, check out the middle promo that we have out right now on Terry Lynch. That's going to be coming out soon. Hope you enjoy that. And when it does come out 100%, you guys will be the first to know. Also, I am going to be a surprise guest somewhere. So there was a special project that I was able to be a part of, and it will come out here in a few months. So when it does come out, I'll let you know the name and whatever it is, and you guys will be able to check that out. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Don't forget, hit like and subscribe. But until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Alien Strand Podcast. My name is Terry Lynch. I'm with Oregon Ufology. I found myself searching for a passageway one day. And that passageway leads right across the complete section of the Cascades, which I'm sitting in front of at the moment. On top of one peak. I want to make sure that everybody sees the type of things that we find in the process of research for ufology. I have located a couple that's sitting here on the top of Blind Peak. She's facing south. He's facing north.
The Middle, Cascadia Guides, a Let's production, in conjunction with Alien Strand Films.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.